But now let's get to some tips to help your team members be real rock stars at this. One is at the beginning of the call, get the caller's name. Now, I know that sounds fundamental. It's like you're saying, I know my team members do that. But I have, in this past week, done a lot of time with clients on listening to calls. And in very sophisticated offices, they weren't doing this. They weren't getting the name. Oh, by the way, my name is Carly. Who am I speaking with? Naren, it's great to meet you by phone. I can't wait to meet you face to face. So number one, get their name. And this is human nature, fundamentals. Dale Carnegie, who wrote what many people consider to be the textbook on human behavior.
Yes. What's
the name of that book, Naren?
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. Wouldn't we like to think that that's your job when you answer the phone? I want to win a friend and I want to influence a person by making an appointment.
100%.
So in very sophisticated offices, they weren't asking the name. Oh, by the way, my name is Carly. Who am I speaking with? Naren, it's so great to meet you by phone. I can't wait to meet you face to face. And that leads me to the second tip. Make a positive statement about the call. Make a positive. I'm so glad you called. We welcome new patients. You called the right office. Think about those as phrases you can put on your hip pocket. By the way, my name's Carly. Who am I speaking with? There's a phrase on your hip pocket. Right. Another phrase is, because they'll ask, do you take new patients? We love seeing new patients. I'm so glad you called. Let them know that. Right. It's nice to meet you by phone. I look forward to meeting you face to face. All of that is setting up expectations, positive expectations.
Right.
So put those phrases on your hip pocket, not necessarily scripting, but put them on your hip pocket and use them when appropriate. Now, so tip number one is get their name. Tip number two, make some short positive statements about your practice. We love new patients. You called the right office. Think about that. Great to meet you by phone. Can't wait to meet you face to face. That's an assumptive statement. Of course, I'm going to get to meet you face to face. Why in the world would you want to go anywhere else? I mean, that's not said, but that's the messaging. Right. And that's what they hear. What they hear is the welcome mat rolled out. And here's where I want to spend a little bit of time on the next tip. Many, many, many times, whoever answers the phone is acting as the catcher, like in baseball, the catcher. They're simply receiving questions that are asked by the patient instead of being the pitcher and asking the questions themselves.
That's a great
analogy.
And
when you're receiving the questions, here's the three questions you're going to get. Do you take my insurance? How much is I need a crown? How much is a crown? And how soon can I get in?
Right.
And a lot of times the answer to those questions aren't necessarily what the patient wants to hear.
Right.
So those are the questions, and I can go to thousands of actual recordings that these are the questions people ask when they call. Do you take my insurance? How much is I think I need a crown. How much is a crown? And then how soon can I get in? And now you're automatically, by just answering the call, you've lost control of the call by just answering questions.
Yeah, it becomes like you're like a person who just answers questions without any purpose, any goal,
no direction. And you have no control. You have no control because they're in control. They're answering the question. The easy way for any of your team members to take control, and this is why I playfully called this episode, answering the phone like a rock star.
Yeah.
A rock star team member on the phone quarterbacks the call. They ask the questions. So when I got your name, Naren, so let me give you an example of how to lead with a question before they have a chance to ask one. Naren, how did you hear about our practice?
Right.
And what might you say? You've listened to calls, Naren. What might you say?
Well, I was just looking around and I noticed you have a great practice on Google, and I wanted to, kind of see. I just moved to town. I want to see if you might be a good fit.
Perfect. And now I know they found us by a Google search. I might ask another question. Naren, did you have a chance to take a look at any of our reviews?
Absolutely. I did. You guys.
That's why I called.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden now it's a whole different level of, rapport on that phone. One of the purposes is to develop rapport. Rapport is the beginning of a relationship. I'm not saying we develop a relationship in that first call. I think that's something that'll happen once they come in. But we start by developing rapport. And one of the best ways to do that is to actually take control be the quarterback, take control of the call, instead of simply receiving the questions as they come in.